and welcome to DSR Daily. I'm David Rothkopf, joined as ever by Riley Fessler. How are you doing this morning, Riley?
Pretty good.
Our friend Minna is off for the week, so Riley and I are going to try to, bear up under the burden. Riley will tell us what stories he's picked, and we'll talk about it. So go ahead.
European leaders and businesses responded with cautious relief to a new US-EU trade deal that averted a full-scale trade war but imposed a 15% US tariff on most EU goods, lower than the threatened 30% but still much higher than hoped. While the deal provided immediate market stability and boosted European stocks, many saw it as unbalanced and lacking in key details, especially regarding promised EU investments and energy purchases. Officials across Europe emphasized that further negotiations would be needed, and industries warned that the higher tariffs would still hurt competitiveness. Despite these concerns, the agreement was welcomed as a temporary reprieve, offering short-term clarity while leaving major questions unresolved.
Yeah, so let's be clear about this. A, there was no deal because there are a lot of details to be worked out. And see, those details, those are actually the deal. B, the deal that they talked about is not a good thing for the United States because what it does is it imposes a 15% tax on all European purchases on Americans. The Europeans don't pay the tax. We pay the tax. This is not only inflationary, it slows down our economy. So, bad. C, there are big components of the deal, as Riley mentioned, that are never going to happen. In fact, just hours after the meeting, the EU acknowledged that the promise of buying $600 billion of U.S. products that was central to Trump's joy with this deal is complete baloney because the EU does not have the power to make people buy products. So it's not a deal. It's a bad deal, and it contains elements that will never happen. So what was it? Why would anybody go to the trouble to pretend that there was a deal and sit next to Trump and celebrate it? Well, it's simple. They're just trying to placate him and hope that he goes away real soon. They're just trying to get through the Trump period in terrible U.S. trade policy. It's just like, I don't know, a kidney stone. They're waiting for a kidney stone to pass. It's really uncomfortable, but they know sooner or later it'll go and maybe things will resume to normal. Trump is the kidney stone of international relations.
Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire after 5 days of deadly border clashes that killed at least 35 people and displaced over 260,000. The agreement was brokered in Malaysia with support from the US and China, following diplomatic pressure, including a warning from President Trump about halting trade deals. Both nations pledged to restore peace through further talks and mechanisms to monitor the ceasefire, while displaced civilians expressed cautious relief and hope of returning home. The conflict marked a rare military standoff between ASEAN member states, highlighting longstanding tensions along the contested border.
Yeah, they're longstanding tensions. These tensions have been there for decades. These are the kind of things that sort of periodically boil up in international relations. The idea that the crazy old president of the United States is going to go, well, watch out, this could affect your trade deals, which nobody really wants. Nobody wants to deal with them. And it has no bearing whatsoever on all of this, is poignant. But if you listen to Trump over the past couple of days, where he does these press conferences where he ignores the person next to him and just goes blah, 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 he is increasingly incoherent. It's increasingly embarrassing for the United States to have this guy sit there and, go on these kind of wild rambles, like a pinball game, taking you from one topic to another with no connection, and it goes trade, Southeast Asia, Gaza, Epstein, my wife, this, that, the other thing. It's cuckoo, not good, but can't possibly last forever, right?
The largest super PAC supporting House Democrats is launching a $20 million Lone Star Fund to fight back against a Republican-led redistricting effort in Texas aimed at eliminating up to 5 Democratic congressional seats. At President Trump's urging, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has called a special legislative session to redraw district lines, prompting accusations from Democrats of election rigging. The PAC's strategy includes voter registration, outreach to Hispanic voters, and targeted advertising, with initial ads focusing on GOP policy positions rather than redistricting itself. Democrats warn the GOP plan could backfire by endangering Republican incumbents and triggering retaliatory redistricting in blue states like California.
Yeah, well, it should do all those things. If the Republicans are going to bend the rules in an effort to maintain their majority in Congress, which they won't do in the House, Democrats should definitely respond with things like this and with redistricting in California and in other blue states. Two can play at this game, and they'll howl and say, "Oh my God, that's unfair," but that's exactly what they're doing. It's time that the Democrats adopt the scorched earth tactics of the Republicans. It's good to see. Hopefully there'll be more of it. Riley?
Kim Yo Jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, firmly rejected diplomatic overtures from South Korea's new liberal government, stating there is no interest in talks regardless of the proposals offered. Her remarks highlight North Korea's continued focus on deepening ties with Russia amid the ongoing Ukraine war, while dismissing Seoul's recent conciliatory gestures as ultimately meaningless due to its alliance with the U.S. Since the collapse of nuclear talks with Donald Trump in 2019, North Korea has shifted toward expanding its weapons programs and aligning more closely with Moscow for military and economic support. In a major ideological shift, Kim Jong-un also removed peaceful unification from the North's constitution, designated South Korea as a permanent enemy, and signaling a hardening stance toward any future reconciliation.
Yeah, look, the hermit kingdom is getting more hermity. The kooky ruling regime, the Kim Jong-un and his sister and those close to him, they're getting crazier. Putin's encouraging it, and the people of North Korea are suffering. We often don't really talk much about the people of North Korea. We just sort of write it off because we have so little visibility to them. But their economy is terrible. They're suffering. They live miserable lives. And it's all because of this horrible family that seized control there generations ago. And, we'll be there until the people and countries that are propping them up, Russia and to a considerable extent also China, stop doing so. Meanwhile, the best possible response to them is the continuing growth and robustness of South Korea, which is doing very well in a variety of ways. Yes, they have political scandals and so forth, but South Korea is a really, really big, strong, important success story on the international stage for the past 50 or 60 years. Their growth has been something that people should study. Their growing influence is something people should study, whereas the North Koreans seem petty and of less and less concern almost everywhere. Not Ukraine, perhaps, where they've sent troops, but almost everywhere else.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Qatar's defense minister signed a memorandum confirming Qatar's unconditional donation of a Boeing jet to the U.S. Defense Department, which is expected to be retrofitted for use as Air Force One by President Trump. The agreement emphasizes that the plane is a genuine gift with no ties to bribery, influence, or any government decisions. The donation sparked ethical concerns from both Democrats and Republicans, surprising Air Force officials who initially assumed a purchase was involved. Retrofitting the jet is expected to cost up to $400 million, with funding potentially redirected from the over-budget Sentinel missile program to cover the classified upgrade project.
Let me just say one thing about the North Korea thing that I should have said, which is, of course, North Korea is very dangerous. They have nuclear weapons, they've got big military, and they can cause problems. I'm just saying that their influence in other ways, economic influence, social influence, political influence, is contracted a lot because of the stance of their government. Having said that, going back to this uh, story that Riley just talked about. What was the story again?
The Qatari
right.
gift.
Yeah. Okay. Going back to the story that Riley just talked about with regard to the Qatari jet, this is completely consistent with the Supreme Court's recent ruling that if somebody hands the president a big bag of money, it actually has to have a note on it saying this is a bribe for the president actually to be charged with anything. Yeah, I'm being a little facetious. I'm not being a lot facetious, however, because the Supreme Court, in dealing with these kind of corruption cases, says there has to be explicit quid pro quo involved. But implicit quid pro quo is what most corruption is about. You don't actually say, here's a plane, treat me differently. You don't have to say it. They're giving a fucking plane, you know, oh, here's a $400 million plane that you want it, that you can fly around in and feel good in. You don't need to have a note or something painted on the side of the plane saying this is a gift from the people of Qatar and therefore please be nicer to us. There's corruption everywhere. We've never seen anything like this with crypto corruption, with the deals that are being done. The president just got on a plane this past weekend and flew to Scotland to go to a golf course he owns on the taxpayer's dime with his sons and their girlfriends and wives or whatever in tow with him to promote a resort. And then he has also had some meetings on the side that have to do with being president of the United States. We've never seen anything sort of so woven together where the business of the Trump family and the business of the United States of America are effectively the same thing. And frankly, most international relations these days, one way or another, whether it's a trade deal or a plane gift, is about giving Trump something he wants so that he will not be a bad person to you. It's a sad circumstance. Anyway, it was a weekend. We got through that. That lifted us up a little bit. It was pleasant here in Washington. I hope it was pleasant where you were. I watched the European Women's Soccer Championships and watched the British women win again as they had 3 years ago. And it was kind of moving and uplifting. And it sort of started the week off on a positive note. And I hope that all of you found something to start your week off on a positive note. And we'll be here all week, even though it's the middle of the summer, with brand new podcasts, brand new discussions on the big issues that are not going away, because that's what we do here. We hope you'll join us for all of that. And if you're so inclined, go to the dsrnetwork.com, click membership, and become a member. Support us for the low price of, something like a cup of coffee or a latte a month. We'll be grateful. Until tomorrow, thank you, Riley. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye-bye.